Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Aziz Habib Muhammad Aziz. I'm from TBA 11458. So today I'm going to be explaining about historical and evolution of preferred stocks. So before we dive in, what does preferred stocks actually means is actually a special type of shares that give investors priority over common shareholders. Think of it as a stock that gets princess treatment if the company pays dividends or faces financial troubles. Preferred shareholders are first in line, so it's like being a VIP in the investment world. So let's dive in.
Now, let's go down to the history part. The story of preferred stocks goes back to the early 1900s. Back then, big companies, especially railroads and utilities, needed money to expand, but they faced two big problems. The first, the banks wouldn't lend more because these companies were already drowning in debt. They owed more than what they can pay, and selling common shares didn't work because the stock market was weak. So, what are the solutions? The companies came up with a solution. They created preferred stock as a backup plan. Financing is a financing tool. It allowed them to raise markets without taking any more debt and without relying on a weak stock market. And moving on.
And as the time went on, preferred stocks has evolved. And by the mid-1900s, they become important for regulatory reasons. Banks realized that preferred stock could be called as regulatory capital. And what is that? Banks realized that preferred stocks will count as regulatory capital, and they were cheaper than issuing more common shares, so big corporations started using more and more. What does this actually mean? So, trust preferred securities he has came up with these three things: that's advantages, better regulatory treatment, and low cost funding. Preferred stocks also plays a big role during financial crisis. During the global financial crisis, banks were collapsing and preferred stocks became a lifeline. And why do we say that? In the previous year, we can see that Goldman Sachs has contributed to banks hundreds of millions of preferred stocks, and that move helped the banks industry to survive. And we also can see that in 2010s and 2020s, where interest rates at record lows, preferred stocks became popular once more as companies could raise funds cheaply and investors enjoy higher yields than regular bonds. Like you, me, we want higher return, right? So that actually kind of makes sense. And today, about 80% of all preferred stocks came from the big banks: JP Morgan, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, Goldman Stanley, and so on, and big financial institutions in the major country. Because they have to meet regulations, and by providing steady income to investors, we as investors we want to know the certainty of the company paying us back.
Alright, so now let's dive into historical drawdowns and capital recovery. So even though preferred stocks are known for steady income, they can become volatile during crisis, almost like common stocks. Researchers looked upon S&P and US preferred stock index from 2003 onwards and found most declines were minor. 8 out of the 10 biggest drawdowns were less than 8%. Only two major crashes causes deep losses, like the 2000 to 2009 financial crisis, the big drawdown in the market that causes a lot of impact and losses.
So, in summary, preferred stocks have evolved from a simple backup financing tools into powerful instruments used by modern banks. Yeah, history is flawed. However, it shows that while they can fall during big crises, they almost always recover. Like there's a saying that says, "What goes up must come down, but what comes down will probably go up again," and continue delivering steady income along the way. And that's all from me. I guess I will be closing on and see you on later. Thank you.